So now it's being, okay. So Matteo, I think you're going to start, and I think you can share screen.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'm wondering if everyone can see the slides.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, Kayshish, I think you're up.
Hey. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming to our session. Today we'll be discussing Every Pattern Tells a Story, and this is what we're doing at Northwest Indian College. First, I am Kayshish Pichette Cline. I'm an enrolled member of the Lummi Nation. I'm NWIC alumni, and I'm currently studying math at Western Washington University. And this is a picture of a quilt that I've made.
Oh. And hi, everyone, and my name's Matteo Tamburini. The limerick there is my somewhat irreverent attempt at introducing myself. The picture is me with my family, and the background is a little bit of the floor on the Basilica of Santa Maria del Fiore in Florence, not too far from where I was born and where I lived, where I was growing up.
And just a little bit about Northwest Indian College. It's a tribal college that is chartered by the Lummi Nation, and it's located just west of Bellingham, Washington, so just south of the border. And this is a couple of pictures of what the campus looks like. And to start, we'll discuss what our current curriculum looks like in our Foundations of Algebra class, which is Math 99. And in Foundations of Algebra, we work on analyzing and generalizing patterns. And we work with quite a few different, I guess, types of patterns. Some with contextual background, like the moccasins pattern, and some that students have made, such as the Jandy's beads and Sheila's beads, and some not so contextualized, such as the increasing patterns 3, and the bricks. And this one works with volume specifically. And the patterns, most of the patterns are developed at Northwest Indian College. There are a couple that weren't, I guess, like I want to say the increasing pattern, the previous one. And just a little bit about the patterns that are developed at Northwest Indian College. So at the end of all of the algebra courses, students are encouraged to submit a pattern of their own, and this is required for an A, but it's very open-ended. It's up to the student what kind of pattern they want to submit. They can venture into more abstract patterns or find a pattern that connects with them, I guess, culturally.
Okay, thanks, Kayshish. And so that Kayshish describes sort of the work, the way that we have been carrying it out for about a decade. More recently, we've been engaged in this research project where we have tried to connect and or reconnect with former students and friends and community members who contributed to the math curriculum, like some of the patterns that you've seen there, because we wanted to know a little bit more. We wanted to dig a little bit deeper into what the patterns were about and what they meant to them. So we reached out, we conducted a few story sharing sessions. I was mentioning to Dr. Archibald that we relied on her book, so I sneakily put a picture of her book at the bottom of my slide here just now. But we sat with the people we chatted with, and we asked them to tell us the story behind their pattern. We asked them how they felt that this math curriculum related to Northwest Indian College's mission, which is through education, Northwest Indian College promotes Indigenous self-determination and knowledge. And then we asked people how they would like for their work to be carried forward. And people shared a variety of thoughts and reflections as a response to these prompts. And we have some quotes from people that we might share in the question and answer, but our time is very short here together today. So we thought that one of the best uses of our time might be to share with you some of the assignments or some of the math patterns that the students shared and the stories that they said would go along with them. So I'm going to skim through a bunch of quotes here that we might come back to. And so in order not to read too much from the slides, I'm just going to have us sit and linger with the slides, first with the pattern itself that the students shared. And then I'll skip ahead to the snippet of the story that the student shared about the pattern itself. And we'll share the PowerPoint with the organizers. So I'm guessing it will be shared to all of you later on in case you want to engage with it more later. So this is the pattern, and this is a little bit about Marguerite's story that she said went along with it. I have a timer going, just so you know, so I'm trying to give people time a little bit to read. Go through another couple. And this is a little bit of Ashley's story about the pattern she chose. Maybe we'll do a couple more. Sorry for the poor quality here of the image. And when Johnny Buck, who is the author, shared this pattern with us, he wrote a poem to go along with it. He's the only one so far to have had a poem. And then maybe again, just in the interest of time, I'll just show. So in part, we've been collecting these stories, but I wanted to just demonstrate to you. I'll use this one by our friend Zach as an example. So now a lot of the classes at Northwest Indian College are still taught remotely. We haven't fully come back to in person after the pandemic for a number of reasons. But in the past, students would have encountered this. One of the things that we've done now is that I've felt very clever, and with a little bit of HTML, now when the student moves their mouse over the image, I'm not expecting you to read what that says there. That'll be on the next slide, but this is just to demonstrate that when the student now hovers their mouse over the image, the snippet of the story that Zach shared with us also comes up, so the students can have that sense of connection with it. So I'll just, this is what Zach had to say, what you could barely see in that blurry image. And then I'll pass it to Kayshish for some closing reflections. Okay, again, all too brief. I'm gonna skim ahead so you can see some of what we have here. And I'll pass it back to Kayshish, and then I think that will be about our time, and we'll go to question and answer.
Thank you so much. And just to close, some of my reflections are, it's really interesting to meet and see some of these some of the students and the stories that they have to share. I haven't worked with all of them. I've worked with quite a few, but it's very interesting to hear their stories and I guess how their background connects to their story. Some of the things connect with family or activities that they've done growing up. And I think that's very beautiful. And I think a part of this work that we're doing has to do with a lot of like storytelling, story sharing, and story keeping. Um, and I think that's something that's very present for Indigenous knowledge. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words now. Thank you so much.
Right on time. So I guess we'll look to the moderators for some questions.
Yes, I think, Chao Chu, are you, I know you're with us.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. I really hope I can read through all the people, all the descriptions and all the quotes and everything. Yeah, I see a lot of students connected the math and the learning experience with the, their own history at home, at their stories at home. So that's really moving, and thank you for sharing the quotes. Do we have any questions? If you could put in the chat, that would be great. But I could get started. Well, I have one question actually. For like, what is the biggest takeaway from asking students' experience? Because I really like your question. How would you like for your work to be carried forward? How do students talk and take on that?
Maybe I'll take that one. You know, I feel like a lot of it is interconnected with people's previous experiences of math. A lot of people, perhaps unsurprisingly, have not had very positive experiences in math classrooms in the past. And a number of people shared that they would like for this to be reflected in the curriculum that their children use. I feel like and for it to be continued to shared as more people come through Northwest Indian College for that, you know, for their work to be shared there.
Yeah. And I have one question in the chat. Barbara asked, do you have any easy algebra connections to these patterns like series or sequence, etc.?
Well, in many ways, these are arithmetic sequences. You know, those are embedded in the way that the patterns are built up. And it's really easy for us to use these as part of our Foundations of Algebra curriculum because they lend themselves very neatly to generalizing formulas, to thinking about what is the sum up to the nth term, even if we don't necessarily present it like that. And later on, they can be used as, you know, models for function notation. You know, we use the patterns in Foundations of Algebra all the way to college algebra and so on.
So you were saying like the algebra that presented is a little bit different from the algebra on the book and how it is presented as sequence and series. What do you mean by a little bit different? Like,
so the students, we don't use the language in Foundations of Algebra. We don't use the language of sequences and series. That's not the that's not how they're presented, but the concept is embedded in them in such a way that for now, the students are generalizing. They're trying to describe the pictures. They're trying to write formulas at the beginning, numerical formulas, and then algebraic formulas for the nth term. And so in some sense, how many total beads in stage n is like saying, well, if you add up the first n terms of this sequence, what do you get? But we don't necessarily present it that way. We're trying to, in the Foundations of Algebra course, the goal is to try people to just become, to develop the meaning for what it means when we use a variable. That's the purpose of our use in these. But one could, I would expect, use them more broadly in that context. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Well, great. I think we will give a thanks, raise my hands and thanks and respect to Matteo and Kayshish for sharing with us these your research, and of course I'd love to afterwards look and read and think about all those wonderful stories. Even what you presented just had a richness, a depth, to the cultural meaning and the story connection and the poetry. I just think it brings the whole idea of these patterns and aspects of algebra to life. I just found that really fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to reading more and learning more about your research. And so glad that you're focusing on the stories of the former students and what, how they could think of bringing together what they're learning in algebra with what they feel in their hearts and the knowledge that they have.